My name is Mackenzie, and today I'm going to be talking to you about deafness and profound hearing loss. Now, I work at the Ann Carlson Center, and when I first started working there, the scariest part about it to me was communicating with a specific client who is deaf. Trying to figure out what she wanted, what she needs. She needed to figure out what I was trying to get her to do. It was frustrating to me. But learning how to communicate with somebody who has profound hearing loss is something that has greatly affected my life. I am able to read her so much better now that I know the ways to communicate with somebody who cannot hear me. Because just because they can't hear me doesn't mean they don't want to know what I have to say. And the other way around doesn't mean that they don't want me to know what they are trying to communicate. In fact, it should be my job to understand them. It is my job to understand them when I'm at work. Starting with a fact from the World Health Organization, 466 million people in the world have some sort of disabling, profound hearing loss. Now, I think this is absolutely wild. That is 500 million people in the world. And yet I feel like so many people don't know how to communicate with somebody who has hearing loss or is completely deaf. There's 3 types of deafness, 3 main types that I found, and it's conductive, sensorineural, and auditory, and these are 3 very different types. They're affected in very different ways, and they can each be, quote, fixed in very different ways. You can get a cochlear implant, hearing aids, lots of different types of therapy, and then for those that can't be fixed, you can learn how to do sign language, home sign, and then obviously technology is a huge part of being deaf in the 21st century. So how to communicate effectively with somebody who is deaf, it's very simple when you break it down. First, always use eye contact. When talking to somebody who is deaf, if you do not make eye contact with them, sometimes they will not know that you are talking to them. If I were to be looking over here and talking very directly towards something else, but I am obviously talking to you, it could get confusing to them. So always use eye contact. Second is don't yell. Yelling will not make them hear you if they are completely deaf. That is probably the biggest tip I have. And, adding on to that, not to mumble either, because if you're not moving your mouth and you're mumbling under your breath, they're not going to be able to read your lips if that's their way of their communication. So always just use like a clear tone of voice if you are speaking to somebody who is deaf. My third tip is to always take advantage of technology. It's something that we're very blessed with these days. If you're having a miscommunication in a conversation with somebody who is deaf, whip out your phone. Type it out, write it out, anything you can use to make sure that conversation doesn't die because of a miscommunication. We have miscommunications with verbal communication too. And so it's always important to not get embarrassed or slack off in a conversation just because you don't think that they'll understand it. Break it down, talk about it, get in depth, and you'll be able to figure it out. Now, as Mark Twain says, kindness is a language that the deaf can hear and the blind can see. So always use kindness when you're speaking to those of all abilities. This was Miss Teen Jamestown International, and have a great Thanksgiving.